You'll know when it comes in, too.
Okay.
It goes bang.
Okay.
STUDIOB. Add. Calling it.
Oh, Joseph. I don't believe I'm interested by your courage, skill, nerves, Greg, stupidity. I'll do you for that. Oh, what? Come here. What are you going to do? Bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us. Here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
Ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
download it to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
and I'm Maggie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the Cosmic Oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be, and beyond. The readings and advice given by Barbara Jean Lindsey are for entertainment purposes only, should not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by a qualified professional, and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expanded, call the Cosmic Oracle.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and we are coming to you live from an amazing place today. We have some amazing guests. I'm so excited to be here. I'm out in Tenino, Washington, and I'm saying that right. I wanted to say Tenino, but it is actually Tenino. And my good friend Patrick English will be our producer tonight. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us and helping out here. I know you're on mute. Okay. So,
You're very welcome, Barbara.
oh, thank you so much. So that just helps me tremendously. And it's like the old days, right?
Just like the old days.
Well, we have another musician coming on and shortly here that you're going to just love, Patrick. So we have Michael Lee Hill as our guest this evening. And I will be telling you about him and introducing him in just a few moments. But before we do, I do want to thank you for being as generous as you have been over the years. This is our 5th year doing the Cosmic Oracle Show. I can't believe it, but it is the 5th year. And so far on Revolution Radio, we need $2,000 a month to keep it on the air, to keep the lights on and do all the technical stuff and producers, and no one gets paid for anything here. We're all volunteer station. So that means I don't get any money and Patrick doesn't get any money and we don't want any money. We're doing this because we feel that it's an important thing to have the freedom to have whomever we choose to come on our shows here. And so right now it costs us $2,000 a month. And if you go to freedomslips.com and hit that donate button, that would really help us out. Donate whatever you can, $5, $10, $15. And so far this month, we've raised $1,315, and we need $2,000 to reach our goal. So I just want to give a shout out to all of you on Facebook who are tuned in, to Barbara Jean Lindsey. I see some of you. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. Everyone's kind of straggling in this evening. So let me introduce you to our guest. Okay. We have, right now we have Michael Lee Hill's on board, and he's Michael Lee Hill Rainbow Warrior Eagle. And you can reach Michael at michaelleehill.net. That's michaelleehill.net. And I also, if you go to my Facebook page, Barbara Jean Lindsey Facebook page, I'm going to post up some things about, there's some cool YouTube videos that Michael's posted earlier. But Michael, we've had him on the show, I think it was about 3 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. But he is an award-winning musician, a filmographer, and a UFO experiencer and ET contactee. His footage of the Lake Erie UFOs has created a Billy Meyer-like buzz, and Michael seems to have developed an intuitive relationship with these crafts. He's in his home state of Ohio when he was doing his filming, and has been cataloging video after video of UFOs over Lake Erie. The phenomena consist almost entirely of pulsating orbs of light, unusual light seen changing colors, converging and separating over the lake. Stories of the unexplained phenomena date back over 150 years to the indigenous North American Indian tribes, and we're going to be talking about that today. Michael's Lake Erie UFO footage has been featured on Fox News and Coast to Coast. On the UFO Hunters Alien Contact episode, the UFO Hunters decide to test Michael Lee Hill's blood, and it is revealed that Michael has an unknown, very rare blood anomaly bloodline that the world's best military and civilian doctors are at a loss to explain. A Harvard doctor uncovered non-normal human elevated levels of creatine, KINASE, in Michael's bloodstream. So, I mean, that's a lot going on. And so welcome to the show, Michael. I know you've come a long way since the UFO lights over East Lake. So welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, that was a pretty strange. Well, I got a huge echo going on.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool.
Barbara, you know how you can stop that echo? Make sure your mic is on mute when the guest is talking. And
okay. Okay, we'll do.
Stop.
Okay.
Right on. Yeah, that was a heck of a beginning, and I would have never been able to guess what rabbit hole that opened up. You know, it's been a heck of a ride.
Well, yeah, I mean, you weren't looking for it, right? It found you somehow, some way. You were just hanging out and being yourself and being the curious person that you are, right?
Yeah, it was really interesting because, you know, as you said, I'm a musician, so I was having band practice, and me and the bass player went in the backyard to take a break and smoke break. And I live very close to Lake Erie, and we seen a craft that was very close to the shore. If you hold your hands up to the horizon, about 3 inches long, that's how big it was in the horizon. And we sat there and watched that for about 10 minutes. I didn't have, I didn't get that one on film, but it sparked my curiosity to start going down to the lake and finding little nooks and crannies and beaches where I could go down around sunset, and I'd just take my Sony Handycam along with me and have it on a tripod, and, you know, ready to, if a big ball of light went by, I was ready to film it. But I didn't know what they were at first. Matter of fact, you know, I filmed these orbs of light. You know, they look like big balls of plasma. And some of my footage went viral, and that's what led the History Channel to my door. But really, what shocked me one day is they brought a laptop over, and they said, "We'd like to get your input on a couple videos." And they showed me videos from the UK, and it was the exact same phenomenon I'd been filming over Lake Erie. I was like, "Holy crap! That looks like the same thing I filmed over Lake Erie." And the guy laughs. He's like, "Yeah, that's why we're showing you."
Huh.
And so at that point, through my contact with the History Channel and just a lot of other people, I started to collect news clippings of these orbs of light showing up over all kinds of other major cities. And they're flying in the same formation. But it took me back because all these news broadcasts were trying to act like it was different. But when you watch them back to back, you can see they're the exact same objects flying in the exact same formations. So, I got to the point where I had about 40 minutes of that kind of footage, and I figured, why not just release it? So, anyone that wants to see it, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's Michael Lee Hill, and it's called The Anunnaki Are Showing Up Worldwide right now. Crazy thing is, it's got like 1.5 million views. So it seems like people are hungry for this info. But yeah, I had no clue what they were or anything. I knew it wasn't normal. And then after a while, I started filming them coming up out of the lake and going down into the lake, both. That kind of stopped any thought in my head of some weird plane or maybe something of ours. And yeah, check out my the Michael Lee Hill on YouTube, and you'll see the footage I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, and you ended up building a relationship with it. Could you ever call?
Should I say over?
You could, Michael, because I think Barbara forgot she was on mute.
I did forget. I'm sorry. Okay, this is new for me, so I'm with this. Yeah. So
I'm sorry to impose that, but I guarantee you it will stop that echo.
okay, fantastic. I totally am in your hands here, Patrick. So I gotcha. Thank you. So yeah. So if I remember right, then after a while, I don't know how much time it took, but then you started to develop a relationship with the ships a little bit. You had some communication with them. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, it's absolutely. It started off where, to be honest, I was getting sick of filming them. This Sony Handycam I had, remember, this is early 2000s, I think I started filming them around 2005. So the technology wasn't that great. These beautiful orbs of light that are just shining these multi-dimensional colors. And I'm looking at it through a little black and white viewfinder, And so I really wanted to just watch them. So I began just out loud going, you know what, unless you come closer or do something I haven't filmed already, I'm not going to film you. I'd rather just observe and, have it hit my retina. But sure enough, they started coming in closer and closer and just exhibiting different behavior. Like the one that was featured on the History Channel, like one of these double orb objects, which looks almost exactly like the Mexican Air Force footage that was released. But as I'm filming one out over the lake, maybe about 30 feet off the water, all of a sudden the second one shows up out of nowhere. So you got two double orb objects. And the second one just flies right over the first one. And so they made it interesting. And this continued until one night, this Handycam, it recorded on an 8 millimeter tape, and you could get 1 hour of the highest footage quality that you could. So I had filled up 2 hours worth of footage, and I didn't even have any more tapes. So I was just sitting there, and this thought came to me like, wow, I wonder if they know I filmed them, because what I'd filmed that night was really crazy footage. So this voice is like, well, ask them. No one else is down here. Don't be shy. So out loud, I said, listen, if you want me to release this footage to the world, you need to do something, and you need to make it where it's not doubtable, like make yourselves known and do it within the next 5 minutes. Show up in a way, make it where all doubt is removed. And if you do it within the next 5 minutes, I will never release this footage to the public. And I wouldn't have. And 5 minutes goes by, there's not even a little twinkle of light out there. And believe me, the way the night was going, that was odd in itself. So when we got to about 8 minutes, I thought, well, cool. They must be cool with me releasing this footage. So I said, cool, let's celebrate. And all of a sudden, this mothership showed up out of nowhere. And it was about the length of 3 football fields. And there was 2 really active orbs at each end. But in between those 2 orbs of that distance was hundreds of smaller little orbs of light. And this light was just going back and forth from right to left, from left to right. And covering that distance a couple times, I would say 2 or 3 times a second, maybe. It was really something to see. But as this thing is in front of me, teeter-tottering, these orbs started dropping out of it. And they drop straight down and then go to the left. Another one would drop straight down and go to the right. And I would say it dropped about, 9 or 10 different orbs. And that was one of the craziest nights of activity. But yeah, the more, well, as you know, it led to eventually meeting them face to face. But the activity in the sky is not really ever ended. It's pretty much just as crazy as it's ever been. And I just keep getting really good footage, putting it out there.
So this opened up a whole nother part of your life. You have an amazing story. This was kind of the base of opening it all up to your learning about the Anunnaki. So we let's give them a little history of where this took you, because you were just kind of out minding your own business in a way, and now it's taking you on this wild ride. It's just beautiful to see.
I often say I feel like the Forrest Gump of all this. I'm just some guitar player, and this weird crap keeps happening. It's like, oh, that's interesting, But what had happened was the History Channel was doing an episode on Skywatchers, and because of my footage going viral, they decided that they wanted to have me as about 5 minutes on the show. So they had come and interviewed me, but what I didn't know is they had interviewed another contactee. His name was Terrell Copeland, and he was a Marine and lived in Washington, 500 miles away from me. But what they were interested in is he had filmed the same UFOs I had the same story of contact with them, and pretty much the same spiritual message given, which is that whole the law of attraction kind of bed of info, think about what you're thinking about. And but the deal was they were going to send him, the military, to another country, and they did a thorough medical checkup and with a blood workup. And what they found was he had an unknown blood anomaly, and none of the best military doctors could figure out what this blood anomaly was. So the History Channel thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting if these 2 guys that don't even know each other ended up with that exact same blood anomaly that's pretty much unknown? So they didn't tell me this, but they contacted me and said, are you willing to do an update to your story? And I'm like, okay, sure. They're like, are you willing to fly to Boston? And I didn't know why, but they're pretty smart, because if they would have told me why, I probably would have said no, because I am not a fan of needles. But when I got to Boston, I found out that they had a Harvard professor there whose name is David Sistrom, and they were going to do test my blood and see if I had the same blood anomaly. Well, sure enough, I do. Do you want to get into what that is so
I
don't leave people hanging?
Yeah, let's just do a little bit, and then we have so much to cover. Okay,
Over.
I want for our first.
I'll just continue.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
yes, continue. And we have so much to cover here, so I want to make sure that
yeah,
we really,
no.
yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
put it in a real nutshell.
Wonderful, thanks.
It's an enzyme called creatine kinase, and the more creatine kinase in the bloodstream, the more electrical capacitance on a cellular level that you hold, because it brings more oxygen into the bloodstream, and oxygen equates how much chi or prana or whatever you want to call it is there. Normal amounts are 25 parts per liter of blood. If the body's been damaged, it can go up to about 250 to 300 tops, because that extra oxygen brings extra energy to the damaged area to facilitate healing. So if normal amounts were 25, they found mine and Terrell's bloodline was almost identical, and it was 2100 versus 25.
Wow.
So, yeah, so
That's
at
pretty
this
big.
point with the Harvard professor, I was like, well, wait a minute, man. This ain't a TV show anymore to me. You know, what are you talking about? Is there something I should be cautious of? Or he's like, what do you think unknown means? And I was like, oh, okay. And he said, if I had to make a guess, I would think it's some kind of virus that is tricking the body into releasing these massive amounts of creatine kinase. But he said it'd have to be some kind of unknown virus. So that led to actually meeting the Anunnaki.
That's what I was just gonna say. This is kind of the key that opened that door for you, that next door on your journey.
Yeah, because that show aired in March of 2008. And in the summer of 2008, I went to this festival, and it was called Sirius Rising. I didn't even know they're the Syrians. I didn't know what an Anunnaki even was. There was no Ancient Aliens on TV at that time. No clue. But there I was actually met and, approached by a group of people, and they said they wanted to talk to me. Pretty much they said the blood anomaly that was revealed on the History Channel is an indicator that I was of their hybrid, Anunnaki human hybrid bloodline that was known as the Nephilim in the Bible. And boy, I had no clue what that meant, But they also said at that time, in your past, we was known as the Anunnaki, and in your past, you were known as Ea, Enki, the water bearer. And none of that made any sense to me whatsoever. But it's weird. Now it makes total sense. They have a way of confirming what they've told you through multidimensional coincidences and synchronicities. And, as far as Ea, it took until 2016, from the summer of 2008, for them to finally reveal Ea means grandfather in the most ancient Native American First Nation language. And we'll get into the water bearer part.
Okay.
But I can tell you, none of it made any sense to me. But it took a couple years for them to fill in the details.
Well, and now you have a lot of work with water, and of how you became the water bearer and own it now, right? It's like normal. It's like a normal aspect of yourself now, and it took a while to kind of try that on and acclimate to that, right?
Yeah, at first, like I said, someone coming up to me and going, you were once known as the water bearer. I'd like to say it was kind of like someone coming up and going, you were known as the Easter Bunny. Well, all right, whatever. But now, I can look someone in the eye and tell them, I am the water bearer, because they guided me into what they call cosmic harmonious frequencies. And they did it through crop circles. And I ended up paying attention, and they guided me into creating some technology that involves crystals. And because of Richard Hoagland, you know, the famous Richard Hoagland, he had me on his radio show. And he said, Michael, we know your story sounds crazy to most other people, but NASA, people need to know Richard Hoagland was like the spokesperson for NASA. He was Walter Cronkite's science advisor and whatnot. He said NASA has been looking into how energy works multidimensionally for a very long time, and he put me onto a rabbit hole. He said, because your numbers are right on the money, and also these same exact numbers are precessional cycle numbers. Mm-hmm. We can get into that, but sure enough, I started to really realize how this 432 frequency has been encoded in Earth's ancient civilizations, cultures, even the way we keep time. We can get into all that, mm-hmm. but that's the water bearer thing is, you know, so Richard Hoagland ends up having NASA looking, well, a NASA biophysicist, to look into these creations that I was guided into through the Anunnaki tutorage. And what they found was one, I call them Anunnaki 432 energy discs. And they found that they could take dead municipal tap water, that because of how we treat it and don't respect it and, you know, put chlorine in it and fluoride, they have technology that's called a GDV camera. It's kind of like carrion photography, but it's made to actually be able to capture the amount of photonic light energy within a droplet of water. And they took some pictures of just tap water at as a standard, and it's almost dead. It's just like this little pinprick of light. But then they took that same water and put it, that glass of water, on top of one of my energy discs, and 15 minutes later, it looked like a supernova went off in the middle of the water droplet. And when it did the water, the NASA scientists said, you know, there's a lot of ways to restructure. And I don't even know the word, but restructure water. We'll just go with that. You can send it through vortexes. You can send it through high magnetic fields, even prayer, you know, but said in all those instances, what they found was, yeah, it brought more energy back into the water, but the periphery of the image actually expanded and got more diffuse. Whereas for the first time ever with my energy discs, the periphery of the light got smaller and brighter. She said it was actually like taking a magnifying glass and you're going to burn a leaf, you know, and as you go up, the circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it combusts. Her own words were, it's turning the light within the water molecule into a laser beam of energy, and they've never seen this in any water studies whatsoever. So what I'm telling you is the Anunnaki already have given me the technology to resurrect and revitalize dead water back into living water. And so now I get the water bearer thing, you know. So it's all making sense.
Well, it's real. It's come to fruition. And people, our listeners here, you can go to michaelleehill.net and you can see all of his beautiful designs. And some of those designs are taken from crop circles, or the imagery or the idea of that. The sacred geometry and crop circles. And
I actually have two different lines, Barbara.
Okay.
They're the ones that are 432 based, that are based on the cymatic image of. I recorded my guitar tuned properly in my recording studio, and I hired the scientists behind a company called Cymascope, and that was interesting in itself. The head scientist gets a hold of me. He's like, you know, we've imaged everything with this technology. Cymatics makes the invisible visible. And for the first time ever, it shows what geometry is being formed by whatever specific frequency you pump through the machine. And he said, we've imaged everything from baby noises to dolphin noises to every frequency known to mankind. But we've never seen this kind of complexity or dimensionality or geometry that was formed out of the audio file you sent us. And so he asked me for my permission for them to be able to release the actual video of the image being formed in real time. So it's like a 20-second video of the whole thing instead of just a one screenshot out of it, which is actually, that's all I should have ever got. But the video is really cool. To see that, actually, it's on my website as well for YouTube. It's on my channel, Michael Lee Hill. Just scroll through there. I know there's a lot of videos, but you'll find it.
That sounds really cool. And then I love your story about when you asked for proof, and so many years later it showed up in a crop circle.
Yeah, the Anunnaki had started to guide me into cosmic harmonious frequencies. They told me in 2008 they were once known as the Anunnaki, and I was once known as Enki. So it was late 2008 or early 2009. I, through meditation and telepathy, I asked them, listen, if you are who you say you are, encode the name Enki into a crop circle, and I will take notice. I'm a student of the subject, and I do keep close tabs on new crop circles. So when it shows up, that would be my confirmation. I told them that you are who you say you are, and I am who you say I am. Well, that was, let's just go with early 2009. I know it was right at that time period. And no magic crop circle showed up. But during that time period, which I can tell you the crop circle did show up in 2011. That's 3 years, of just not being disappointed, but, just, well, it hasn't happened yet. But during that time period, they really started to tutor me into the subject of cymatics and having a standard of having your A note tuned specifically to 432 hertz. And they communicated to me why this was important is everyone knows of E equals MC squared. E is energy, M is mass, C is the speed of light. But all quantum physicists now will tell you everything is both particle and wave. So where's the wave component? That's only the mass, the particle part of the equation. It's right there, M equals mass. Well, what you find out is 432 times 432 becomes the speed of light, or C. So if you run this equation backwards, it's 432 frequencies times 432 becomes C squared times mass equals energy. And in the way that I'm using the equation, it's light, it's photons. So as you can see, I asked the biophysicist, by the way, I said, listen, because I have all the photography from NASA, I have all the test results, and that's ready to go public in a very big way, by the way. But anyhow, I said, if there was no energy in the water droplet before, but after it's full of this energy, where did the energy come from? Isn't it a form of unlimited free energy? If there's no energy, but then there's energy, well, what's going on? And I said, is that extra energy coming from our realm, our sun, our planets, the planet's electromagnetic fields? And she said, no, it's coming from another dimension. And that took me aback. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I never had to ask myself what drinking water that contains energy from another dimension means. But yeah, so right there it can show you that working with 432 base frequencies, because they're truly the only frequencies that are harmonics of light, and everything's made of light. So it's almost like tapping into galactic source energy that everything is made from, no matter our planets, another galaxy's planets. So, yeah, that, just the fact that the scientific proof is there now that this technology will revitalize, resurrect dead water. Well, you should see what it did to healthy water. Because not only did they check tap water, but they did spring water from Canada, and they also did what's it called, Nevian, bottled spring water.
Oh, yeah.
And they did 3 tests. Like, for instance, they took 6 photographs with the GDV camera at just, no treatment, just let out of the tap. Then they took another 6 photos at 15 minutes, and then another set of 6 photos at 30 minutes, and then another 6 photos at 50 minutes. But it was interesting. They said, we don't think it's done doing what it's doing, because the longer we left the water on the disc, the smaller and more focused and brighter it's becoming. And so they recommended doing a 24-hour test in the future, but also said they would recommend putting a glass of water on the disc at night, letting it sit overnight, and then drink it in the morning and have it become like your daily ritual. So I have, and I can tell you, I got the okay from Spirit to begin releasing this technology to the planet. And some really strange responses, like I've got one person contacted me and said, we had psoriasis our whole entire life, and nothing the doctor has ever prescribed took care of it. But I started making my own 432 water, and my psoriasis is gone. And the same thing, another person contacted me and said it was eczema, which, another skin condition. But it seems like, we get most of our energy, our electricity into our bodies through water. And if our source, is dead, our cells are not getting the amount of chi or prana that it even needs to function properly. So all of a sudden, if you've almost went high octane with water, now your cells are bathed in prana and chi. And think what it's going to do for your immune system, right? I can tell you, it'll make it go through the roof. But so, getting back to the crop circle, I was guided into this science of cymatics, and I had tracked down every note of the musical scale with a reference of A being, to 432 hertz. But I also, then I had a cymatic image for B and C and D and E. Well, right at this time is when the Enki crop circle showed up that I had asked them for. And that crop circle became very, very important to me. And how it encoded the name Enki. And I didn't even say, when I first asked them, encode the name Enki into a crop circle, my first thought in my third eye was this looked like a big birthday cake with Enki written in cursive. I'm like, that's silly. What the hell's that going to prove? But then I thought, well, you know what? You'll figure it out. Figure out a really cool way to do it. And while you're at it, encode it with something only I would be able to decode. Got cocky, And then I just let it go. Well, 2011 comes around, and you can see this crop circle for yourself. Just go to Google and type in Enki crop circle. But what it is a 7-pointed star, and at each end of each point of the star is a row of circles. Some of them are filled, some of them are not. And what I found out is it's actually ASCII binary code. And when you decode it, it's EA space ENKI space. So that's why this became very, very important to me. But at the same time, I was learning to make these energy discs, which is a Pleiadian technology. And so I had taken that image of that Enki crop circle, and I had created one of my energy discs from it. And I only made one of those in my life, and it actually went to Chief Golden Light Eagle.
Mhm.
Hope he makes it. But what had happened was, right when I made that disc that day, I had it sitting on the right-hand side of the table. On the left-hand side of the table, I had 7 discs that each contained one note of the musical scale and tuned properly in the proper cymatic image. The last disc I made was a equals 432 disc. And once I got done, I'm looking at it, and it was, what you find out is when you pump 4 octaves below 432, which is 27 hertz, through one of these scientific devices, you get a perfect 7-pointed star.
Okay.
So I knew it was pointing the way, a 7-pointed star pointing the way to the 432 subject. But the reason this even came about was when I first created that A-note disc, I couldn't figure out why that 7-pointed star looked so familiar. I just was not putting 2 and 2 together. I'm sitting there staring at it, and it's bugging me. I'm like, I know I've seen this before. And just nothing was coming. So this voice is just like, hey, relax, man. Just chill. It'll come or not, just let it be. So after about 10 minutes, nothing came. So I just put the disc down. I looked to my right, and I seen that Enki crop circle and the 7-pointed star. And the tears flowed, it was revelation. It's like, oh my God, they did encode it with something only I would be able to decode. And that is, anytime you see a 7-pointed star, it's pointing to cosmic harmonious frequency. And these steps will sooner or later lead mankind into unlimited free energy. And we're right at the cusp of that. But that was the first disc of a sequence, the first crop circle, out of a sequence of 5 crop circles that they use to communicate these principles of cosmic harmonious frequency. And if you want, we can get into each crop circle, but however you want to do it.
Well, I'm with you on that. We have let's maybe finish up with the crop circles. We have about 15 minutes before we take break. 42, about 12 minutes before break. If you have one that after this first initial one, how it's a breakdown on a few minutes on each of them. Is that possible?
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
And then we'll stay tuned for part 2 about your if you want to go into the East Lake Mound Builder Hall of Records, that Anunnaki, that sort of go that way on part 2, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Cool.
All right.
So 2011 in Verona, Italy, is where the Enki crop circle showed up. That was based off of a 7-pointed star. And it also encodes a very important sequence, which turns out to be a gene in our DNA called a universal stress protein. And the way that they encoded this is each point of the star in that crop circle has what looks like star constellations. And as you just read how many stars are in each constellation, it's 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5. So I'm like, type it into Google, you find out it's a gene in our DNA. The more of this universal stress protein you have in your body, the more your body's capable of handling outside stressors, such as viruses and bacteria and increased solar activity. So again, what's this extra energy that's being brought into the water? What's it doing? Well, it's truly the fountain of youth, water, brought to the world. But what I found out was the year prior in the exact same city, in 2010, another crop circle appeared, and you could tell it's made by the same artist. And I think it's interesting, anyhow, that the Enki crop circle, you could look at it as the first time the artist of a crop circle left his signature. It was a co-creation, but Anyhow,
How did they leave?
the
How did they
2000.
leave that? Real quick, how did they
What's
leave?
that?
How did they leave their signature? You got my interest there, real quick.
They encoded Enki into it. That's that's it. That's
Well,
the
that's pretty
signature.
huge, Michael.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. But the year prior, they had left a crop circle in the exact same field, and it encoded an ASCII binary code, E equals MC squared.
Mm.
So that's what led me down the rabbit hole of, because I knew they would use crop circles across time to communicate certain things. And so I thought, well, what is, if this 7-pointed star is pointing a finger to the 432 hertz cosmic harmonious frequency, what does that have to do with 432? And that's, the E equals MC squared. And that's where all the data started coming through, and they started, really a lot of this was happening in vision states, and I have to get up and write the stuff down. But so from those two, we have how E equals MC squared relates to the 7-pointed star to the 432 subject, and that one is encoded by Enki. The remaining three also encoded things that are related to Enki. They didn't just do one crop circle. The next one that happened was the 7-pointed star over a kind of like an eclipse symbol. Looks like part of the moon. And so I felt very fortunate that they were putting these 7-pointed star crop circles down now, almost to let me know they're still there,
Mm-hmm.
But the next thing that happened was, I believe this was 2018, I believe. They put down a crop circle that was a 7-pointed star, and it was surrounded in 14 Mayan calendar Baktun symbols. And so then I had to start looking into what's a Baktun. And it's a Mayan calendar long count, and each Baktun contains 144,000 days. So we can get back into this, but everyone was worried about the Mayan calendar ending in 2012 and the end of the world. Well, that's the end. The end of the 13th Baktun marks the end of the Mayan calendar, and everyone thought, "Oh, end of the world." It's not the end of the world. It marks the exit of the age of Pisces and the entry into the age of Aquarius. So there is no 14th Baktun because it's truly the first Baktun of the age of Aquarius. So I thought, well, if each Baktun count is 144,000, what's 144,000 times 14? And it's 2016000000000. I don't know if it's a lot of zeros. But I already found out they had a way of encoding numbers. It's truly, they're saying 2016. And you know what was weird, because previously I had known, because of, even I said they've encoded these cosmic harmonious frequencies in our past. And I started to learn that right out of the gate in Sumer. Humanity came out with full functioning math, timekeeping, governance, laws, everything. And people really don't know how it happened. But let's look at time. The Anunnaki have left us this idea of multiplying or dividing whole units by 12, whether it's 12 inches in a foot, 12 hours in a day, 12 apostles, 12, the list goes on and on and on. Well, shit, I spun out.
That's okay. With the Anunnaki systems of
I
12.
hope you're writing down what I was talking about.
I am. The system.
I need some help.
Anunnaki systems of 12. This is.
Yes. Look at how many seconds is in 12 hours. It's 43,200. Thank you so much. So their whole system of timekeeping is based on 432. What you need to know is all 432 base numbers resolve to 9, meaning 4 plus 3 plus 2 equals 9. But just because you got your middle note on a piano tuned properly to A equals 432, well, there's still a lower A note on your piano, and then a lower A note. They're called octaves. And to get to those octaves, you just divide by 2. So the accurate lower frequency of 432 hertz, the lower octave is 216 hertz, because 216 and 216 is 432. Then 108, which a lot of people will know, that's a very sacred number. And then 54, and then as I said, 27 hertz, which is when you pump it through a cymatic device, you get a perfect 7-pointed star. So all 432 base frequencies resolve to 9. And we know that our whole counting system, right down to the seconds, is based on 432 based mathematics. So I'm sitting there watching the movie 2012, and all of a sudden it occurred to me, wait a minute, 2012 equals 5. That couldn't have been the end of the Mayan calendar. Because we can get into, the Mayans learned the Mayan calendar and pyramid building from the Anunnaki. So I'm like, well, what's the next year that would be a 9? So I just started going forwards in time, and I got to 2016. And went, wow, 2016 must be the actual accurate ending of the Mayan calendar. So when I seen the crop circle encoding 14 Baktun long count, Mayan calendar long count symbols, and it's spelling out 2016, that was another huge confirmation, you know? Do we have time to get to the last one? Or
Yes, we do. Let's do it. Oh,
over.
Let's do it. We have a few minutes. I think we got it. Yeah. So we're going into the last crop circle. The last crop circle.
Last crop circle already. This is actually the most important one, because obviously they were really guiding me into the importance of the 7-pointed star. Started finding out even, you know, because we'll get into how the Atlantean Anunnaki human hybrid bloodline intertwined into the Native American Indian tribes, but they took a little detour through the Mayan culture. But look at the symbol of the Cherokee. It's a 7-pointed star. But this night, me and Sarah are going to bed, and this voice just would not stop. It's like, Michael, you gotta divide a circle by 7. You gotta divide a circle by 7. And so sooner or later, I'm like, honey, I gotta get up and do some math. All right, you freak. And so I get up, go to the computer, type in 360 divided by 7. And you guys can do this if you want, follow along. It's 51.428. So I was like, all right, so what? You know, why is that important? And so the first thing I find is most people know, you know, the pyramid in Giza, the Great Pyramid. And for the longest time, we thought it only had 4 sides. But now they know it has 8 sides. But though the 8 sides only reveal themselves twice a year on the spring and fall equinox. And so right there, I'm like, well, wait a minute. If there's 8 sides, there has to be more than the one angle we know about. That angle, according to Graham Hancock, which I'm a huge fan of, and I trust his opinion, is 51.86 degrees angle to the slope of the sides of the pyramid. And I'm thinking, well, I wonder what the other angle is. And his voice is like, subtract your 51.428, a perfect 7-pointed star, from Graham Hancock's 51.86. I do it. The answer about shocked me beyond compare. It's 432. So at this point, I'm like, wow, 432 via the 51.428 is encoded into the Great Pyramid. First of all, think about the engineering it would take to create that slight of a dip in angle that would only reveal itself twice a year. So the next thing I found out is 51.428. Everyone knows that most crop circles show up in the UK. They show up around Stonehenge. They show up around Avebury. Well, take Avebury, for instance. Go and look at its latitude on planet Earth. It's 51.428. So let's back up, man. So that what you find out is there's a ley line that goes through the UK, that goes through Avebury, that goes through Stonehenge, and it's called St. Michael's ley line. St. Michael and Mary ley line, because there's a male and a female component. It's actually Europe's, the UK's most famous ley line or dragon line. This gets important because that 51.428 ley line is where all these 7-pointed star crop circles are showing up next to. But getting back to them telling me to divide a circle by 7, when I did that, they showed me in my third eye a circle, and then they just like took a magic marker, no pun intended, and went 1/7 way around the circle, like illuminating it. Then they let the rest of the circle fall away. So you only have that 1/7 of a circle floating in space. And then they showed me that arc being mirrored to itself and floating up to meet it at the bottom, forming what would be like an eyeball shape. And right when it connected and I seen the eye shape, they said that's the true Ark of the Covenant. The Ark was never an ARK, it was an ARC, and it's leading to cosmic harmonious frequency physics that lead into new energy systems, just like it was fabled that the Ark of the Covenant held. You know, like it would bring mankind this brand new kind of energy that was non-polluting. And so...
Yay!
But what happened was really weird, because once they showed me that eyeball shape, I said, wow, I wonder what that would look like as a 7-pointed star. You know, every point of the star having that Ark of the Covenant, arc eye shape made of each half is 51.428 arcs, you know, degrees around the circle. And what happened the next day, again, some of this is just shocked me to my core. It showed up in a crop circle along that St. Michael ley line. And it was a 7-pointed star made of that.
I love it. Thank you. We did it. We're going on break.
Nick of time.
Yeah, we're going on break right now. Everyone stay tuned. We'll be back for part 2 with our wonderful guest, Michael Lee Hill. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Okay.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Oscar's freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
Your body's filled with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. The heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system keeps telling it to run. But you're too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting endangered. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution. Radio.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
It is no secret that the so-called mainstream media is best described as controlled propaganda. Countless news stories are either totally ignored or spun with half-truths, and because of this, essential facts and vital information are often compromised. Join Dr. Ott every Friday night on Studio B at 10 p.m. Eastern and learn why the story behind the story was nominated for a Peabody Award in its second year of producing unparalleled broadcasting excellence in 1997. That is, if you really care about learning the truth.
All right, thanks for listening along. We're going to take that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
Okay there. Hello and welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying tuned with the break. Somehow I just lost that for a second, and but we're back. And all right, I think we have it together here. So, oh my gosh. So how was that for you? This first half is pretty brilliant. I'm trying to find my one part here. So I'm trying to find, there it is. It's just gotten too big here. Let me see if I can fix this. Grid view, there we go. Hello, there it is. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. And we have with us Michael Lee Hill. We'll be getting right back. And he has some wonderful information to tell you what's going on with him in East Lake. And we'll get to Michael in just a moment. But I want to thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio and here at the Cosmic Oracle Show. And if you would go to freedomslips.com and hit that donate button and give whatever you can, we really appreciate it and thank you in advance. And in the meantime, too, I am staying at a beautiful place here called, what is the name of this place? It's called, it's in outside of Washington, in Tenino, Washington, and it's called Dragon Gate. It's really beautiful, Dragon Gate Gardens. I left their information there on Facebook, so you should be able to check them out. They have over 100 acres here, and they do some really cool camping, and they have, I forget how many, but I think I'm close to it, 30,000 pounds of different kinds of crystals here on the property. And there's a beautiful crystal called Ki that you can go in and you can really feel the vibration coming from the crystal itself. And and get a healing on their property. Just coming onto the property, it's kind of set at a kind of more fifth dimension here. That means when you come in here, you kind of let the third dimension behind you, all your worries and cares and work and all that, and you get to come to Dragon Gate Garden and kind of replenish yourself, rejuvenate, and remember what it's like to be vital. And that's kind of what Michael Lee Hill has been talking about in our first hour of the show today, is about water, the importance of water for ourselves, not only vitally for ourselves to keep ourselves alive and thriving, but also our Earth planet itself, and what his new inventions with his 432 hertz can really help heal our planet and bring us into this new Aquarian age. So, so we'll get him back in a moment. I'm not quite sure. Are you back, Michael, or not? And we'll just keep. There you are.
Here.
Yay! Good,
The
good.
grandmother said, though, son, you're barely even here.
Well, thank you so
True
much
story.
for coming on. I mean, all of that, it's a lot for people to take in. I know when I first heard it the first time about the 432 hertz and the crop circles, and you kind of have to run it by a few times to kind of grok it, right? And so people should be gentle.
There's more.
Oh, there's more. And they should be gentle with themselves, right? Because they don't have to get it all right now. They can take it a little at the time as they're learning, correct?
Yeah, you know what, too? Talking about 432 is like talking about a song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, imagine if you never heard Stairway to Heaven, but you can talk all you want about Stairway to Heaven, but you will not understand it until you hear it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same way, you know, once you experience being in the presence of the 432 frequency, which Tibetan singing bowls, the crown chakra singing bowl, are all tuned properly to 432 hertz. And it just does something to your body. It's almost like your body is bathing in glee.
Oh, gosh.
Over.
And
I love this, by the way.
Over there.
And
that's where we're supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be not at just survival. We're supposed to be in vibrancy and love and creation. And that's how we're meant to be. That's our design.
Yeah, I told you my motto. It's if you're not having fun, stop it.
I know we need t-shirts. I love that. And it's so true, though. It's simple but true, right?
Yeah. Life's too short, man. Follow your bliss.
Yeah. And it really does work. It really does. It's all set up for you to do that. And you're not.
Yeah, you just got to take that first baby step.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And you're not alone and isolated in this either. You know, there's a lot of us weirdos out here, right?
Growing more by the day.
Yes, I remember I told this before on the station that I woke up right before I'm coming down to my body, and the words were, "You're a leader in the new weird order," instead of the new world order, right? It's the new weird order. So interesting.
I love it.
So where
you're starting the new weird order, and I'm starting the Freak Flag Nation.
Oh well, hey, no wonder we're talking. Yeah. Well, so where do you want to go? Do you want to? I was thinking, do you want to switch gears and go into the mountain builder? Do you want to wait and talk about that another time?
But you know what? I want to wrap up one thing with that last crop circle that showed up. What occurred to me is when you look into Gnostic Christianity, there's a very ancient symbol called the seal of the seven archangels. And that seal, the outside edge of it, now I realize it's what's around the Enki crop circle, and it's also around the Ark of the Covenant, 51.428 Ark 7-pointed star. It's got the seal of the seven archangels around it. But so what I want to just make clear is you got a crop circle along the 51.428 latitude line, the St. Michael Mary ley line. St. Michael, 7 archangels. Hello, you know what I mean? It's amazing that they've really. What I'm telling you is, St. Michael was known as Archangel Michael, and what they told me was along that ley line in the UK, if you start at one end or the other, and just go to all those ancient sites, all those ancient earthworks, the temples, the churches, and pay close attention to the artwork and the message that there's a story waiting for mankind. So we're talking, I think we should make our own travel show.
Let's do it. I love going to sacred spots and because again, I think it's something that you have to experience, right? You can read about it, the all these great amazing places like the Grand Canyon, but when you go there, it's like, wow.
Yeah, again, it's like you can talk about it all you want, but nothing will prepare you to see the Grand Canyon for the first time. It's just awe-inspiring. Your brain kind of just short circuits. Or mine did, anyhow.
I think it'll be the same to go to these places that are significant for you. You're getting the messages, 7 messages so far. I think, is that what it was, 7 messages? Or am I looking in the future here?
You know what? You can count them. I've never counted them. It sounds right to me, right? That would make perfect sense.
Yeah, I think there's 5 so far there, so there's 2 more coming, right? That's interesting, but okay.
But that's about it. I just wanted to touch base on, me asking for the crop circle, and it's showing up, and then all of this leading to the 51.428 subject matter. And what I've been told is, people might be hip to the fact that there's ley lines. There's lines of electromagnetic energy that crisscross this planet. Where they cross, there's vortexes. But there's one ley line. All the ley lines are mostly earthbound. They are earth energy, but one is galactic. One leaves this planet and connects the earth to a higher grid of galactic energy. And that is the 51.428 ley line. And it's the ley line where they're imprinting all these beautiful crop circles. And I think it's almost showing us a way to imprint information in the astral, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. We have a Susan Len Schwinger. I hope I'm saying your name. She has a question, and I think she might have misheard you. I didn't remember you saying this. She said, did he say that all bowls are 432 hertz? Because that is not true.
No, only the crown chakra.
Only the crown chakra, right?
Every chakra, there's going to be seven different notes, Only the crown chakra is tuned to the 432 frequency.
Right. So we made that clear, Susan. You're right. And Michael did. I'm pretty sure he did say it was only for the crown chakra bowl. But without further ado, okay, we're going to move on. And I like what you said about it making maybe a map for the astral as well. We hadn't talked about that before.
It all fits together that when you start connecting to the 432 frequency, that frequency is forever tied to the 51.428 because 51.428 is forever tied to a 7-pointed star. And the 7-pointed star is forever tied to the 432 frequency subject matter. So I believe if you're meditating and you are meditating using a Tibetan crown chakra singing bowl, your energy is probably going galactic instead of just staying around this earth. So I guess depending on what you're trying to do, this is a brand new science. And guess we'll all have fun figuring it out.
Well, we can figure it all out together too, so you don't feel alone, right? In this, do you feel?
Yeah, I'd rather figure it out together. I'm really feeling like an alien trying to explain this shit. So
right.
the more the merrier. Matter of fact, I got to tell you, I don't know if it's really that important to get into, but I was told that bringing more people into this vision of peace and becoming a galactic society and entering into a new golden age, we need more people. And those people can be added through ceremony. And every person that enters that group, the dream that's being built fine tailors it to all participants. So what they told me, this was interesting, they said, because of the awakening that you've been going through and your raising of your own frequency, that you're ripping in realities that are so far out of the box of the normal human mass consciousness that you and your team specifically are creating the Mandela effect. It's like timelines that, that's why I'm bringing this up, is they told me that to end the Mandela effect happening, that we needed to bring more people into this vision of a new earth through ceremony, that it would, then fine tune it where, because I've known we're not alone for a very long time. There's a lot of people that they know we're not alone, maybe even have had contact, but most people are still drinking the Kool-Aid, and they have no idea, and they still find the subject as, ridicule and making fun of it. But the fact of the matter is, I'm sure people know that the Pentagon just revealed that we're not alone and UFOs are real and they're flying around our skies. I do want to add, could get into this. I was contacted by the Pentagon secret UFO program. They funded $22 million to Bigelow Aerospace, who are the ones that own the Skinwalker Ranch. So in 2011, I was contacted by them and they said, we know you're in contact with the real thing because we've been studying it over the Skinwalker Ranch. And I became friends with the investigator and I learned a lot. I will tell you, he said what people don't understand yet, and this really hasn't been revealed to the world, is these orbs of light have not much to do with people's preconceived notions of what a UFO is. Said these have less to do with craft made out of metal and nuts and bolts, but more to do with time travel and portals. This was the Bigelow investigator. And they, at Skinwalker Ranch, they called it poltergeist activity, but it's truly coming across a multidimensional intelligence that truly can stop time and make it clear that they can, So that all comes full circle. The Pentagon UFO program is going to land smack dab back into the Lake Erie UFO subject. As far as I know, I'm the only contactee that has contact from the Bigelow Aerospace people. They formed a specific group called Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, or BASS. And it was formed specifically to try to find people who had contact. And so that's why it happened.
Well, so I like that, the portal and to stop time. And so do we get extra time to get it together before we totally destroy this planet? Is that kind of it, or?
Well, time is not ever what we've thought it is. We've put ourselves into this standardized, clock ticking 1 second. That's not how time works. Time is malleable. And I'm sure you've been maybe on a plane, it's a 4-hour plane ride, but you end up having this fascinating conversation and it's, you lose time-bound awareness and all of a sudden the flight's over. You're like, wow, that, ended it in a jiffy, or sometimes you're in a horrible situation and 1 second can seem like a lifetime, you know? So time truly is malleable, I guess would be the right
That's
word.
a good word. I like that. And so it doesn't have to be so black and white, in other words.
No, not at all.
And then
You need to work with it. I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
One time I was on my way to a concert and I was running late, but I arrived on time.
We've all probably done things like that, right? But we just haven't given or had much permission to play with that sort of thing. And then also with time being malleable, that's a good word, then also working with different aspects of ourselves, right? That work within this. We aren't just one thing.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like, there's different aspects of ourselves. So there's like, part of me can be here doing this while part of me is doing something else at the same time.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Really, man, I felt so rooted into this 3D plane. Like I call it, there's Mike and there's Big Mike. You know, actually, Big Mike is pretty rough on me. I just fell recently and broke a rib.
Oh,
I just twisted my ankle wrong. I went down and broke it, and laying on the ground, his voice was like, "Get up, you pussy." Excuse my language again. It's like, I guess that's how I have to talk to myself to keep me to listen.
Yeah, I guess it's just we're learning so much about ourselves because a lot of what we've been taught is either old or wrong, or but
yeah.
So we get to explore. So we're like big explorers here. There's a whole new exploration of who we are, why we're here, and what this is all about.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be a bringer of the apocalypse. You know, the apocalypse truly means the revealing of what was once hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never given anyone permission to hide anything from me. You know what I mean? Like my Native American Indian heritage, it's been hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And I never gave the Vatican the authority to take artifacts and stuff from my own people's past, and it's hidden underneath the Smithsonian and the Vatican archives. I don't give them that energy, and I really am not going to stop until they open the doors. You know.
Well, and you found out about your heritage just recently, or pretty recently, compared to.
Yeah, I never knew I was adopted. So, growing up, I never knew my heritage. I had no way of even knowing. People would say, dude, you're Italian. Oh, all right, maybe. I have no idea. But after the History Channel show, the doctor said, listen, if you can get in contact with your birth parents, your birth mother and birth father, you really should, to see if this is something hereditary. And so for the first time in late 2008 is when I tracked down my birth mother, and I met her and my 2 half-sisters for the first time. And that's when I found out of my Iroquois, Native American First Nation heritage. And it's Iroquois Seneca on my mother's side, and it's Erie Montauk on my father's side. And it's interesting, too, because you find out Montauk, it means pharaoh, which is interesting.
Oh, no way.
So, it's weird, too, because we can get into who the mound builders are.
I would
said,
love to.
It's truly, there's DNA proof now to prove that the mound builders, at least are the lost tribe of Israel. The DNA goes back to the hills of Galilee. And the same DNA has been found in the tall, skeletal giant remains that have been removed out of North American mound builders sites. But it also exists in 3% of the Native American Indians still to this day. And if anyone wants to look this up and look into it, because it's pretty much brand new cutting edge information, it's DNA haplogroup X2A.
Okay, how do you spell DNA and how do you Hepla? H-E-P?
Haplo, Haplo, and then
Haplo
group,
group.
all one word, Haplo group
Uh-huh.
X2A.
X2.
And yeah, like I said, they now know with DNA testing that well, they said it could be higher than 3% of the Native American Indian tribes, because the fact of the matter is not many Native American Indians have had their blood work done, but at least 3%. Then when you go backwards in time, they found the haplogroup X2A and the tall skeletal remains removed out of the mound site. But as you keep going backwards in time, where you find the highest concentration of that DNA, that tells you where home base is. And it's truly the hills of Galilee. So that's an interesting thing, because it proves that this is the lost tribe of Israel. It also proves, they told me this bloodline was once known as the Nephilim in the Bible. And it's interesting to me because so many people put the Anunnaki and the Nephilim under the proverbial bus and blame them for all Earth's secret societies and the skull and bones and the keeping mankind in this economic slavery system, where the truth of the matter is the Nephilim bloodline comes in through the Native American Indians who have suffered at the hands of this evil machinery, more so than any other race on this planet. Some say it's as high as 100 million people, men, women, and children were slaughtered in the largest genocide that this planet has ever experienced. So isn't that funny? Because, I guess this is going to be some tough love, but most of the ones that did the killing and giving out of smallpox blankets, they were Christians. And ask them, what role did you have in looking over the lost tribe of Israel? And they'll tell you, oh, we were supposed to, if we found them, take care of them. And, well, it's not what you did. So that might be an interesting paradox for some. But I just want to say, this idea that the Anunnaki are behind all the world's problems and kept us, once you find out it's actually Enki's bloodline that went into the Native American Indians, well, that part's missing from the story, and a half-truth is no truth at all.
That's true. And so part of your work, too, is bringing the truth of that to the forefront. And
yes, that's what we're doing right now.
Yep. And we are doing that, aren't we? And I had the good fortune to go to Eastlake, to Cincinnati, and I love what you said, that you were in that the native land that whole time and you had no idea, and then things started clicking there for you as well and opening up, like with the street signs even that
yes,
had a background.
It all started because my mother, she worked for the city of Eastlake her whole life. And at one point when I found out I had Native heritage, she's like, there used to be an Indian hill up on the hill. I'm like, what, really? So sure enough, I went there and they've destroyed it. But now a high school sits on those grounds. But out front, there's a little monument, saying that this Indian culture was there. So I started tracking down information on who this Indian tribe was, and I got hooked up with the Eastlake Historical Society, and they had given me some newspaper articles stating that the mound builders were first in Eastlake, Ohio, and also the Iroquois and the Erie Indians were first in Eastlake, Ohio. And so I got a phone call from this gentleman who said he was from the Smithsonian. He said, are you aware that there's still an intact ancient earthwork there? And I said, no. No one in Eastlake knows. I'll tell you what, I've even spoken with the mayor now. He goes, oh, I thought that was an old garbage dump. And truly, they have used it as a garbage dump. Talking about desecration of sacred land, but hey, forgive them. They know not what they do, right? But this guy from the Smithsonian, first of all, he told me there was a small excavation there in the 1970s and some artifacts were removed out of that mound that tie it to ancient Sumer and to the Anunnaki. And he told me those artifacts made their way into a small little museum in East Lake, like a little natural history museum kind of deal. And so I went there, and sure enough, the little lady curator actually took the artifacts out of the glass cabinet and let me hold them. And I was told that was a sort of an initiation as well, which it felt like it. But that leads, I'm so blown away because not too many people have even been to the site. You've already been there.
I
It has
have.
a very special energy, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, it does. It's like we were talking about time. I was there for I think 4 hours, maybe a little longer, 3 to 4 hours, and it felt like no time. It was
Right.
it was just you went into an altered space there, so it was beautiful, really really beautiful, a beautiful experience. And I had an owl
Yeah,
there that was just like the best. He was the best.
yeah. L's my right hand man.
He is.
Hey, G. I just gave him a call out. Sorry. But so what I've found out is it truly. First of all, people need to know this mound is massive. And it takes over, I think it's 1.2 miles to walk around it.
Mm.
And when you get up on top of it, it's actually so big, it's kind of, you lose your reference point to everything. It's probably, I don't know, how many football fields long do you think you would say it is, and how wide?
I have no.
Then I'll give you my guesstimate.
Oh, I have no idea. I'd say 10 of them.
Yeah, it's massive. I was gonna say maybe 5 or 6 football fields long, and double wide. That might be small though. It's absolutely. It's probably one of the biggest ancient earthworks in North America.
In North America.
And the cool thing is, it's been hidden.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
do you
been
think
pilfered, and all of its goodies are still intact.
So are we gonna? I mean, because I just had the good privilege to go to the Serpent Mound and walk that, and it's taken care of. It's really honored and taken care of, and I can't wait to see this mound also now that it's rediscovered by you, to have it come back to its glory. In other words.
Yeah, stop using it as a garbage dump.
Yeah.
For first thing.
Yes. And maybe.
But what I want to tell you is, a lot of people are going to know who Edgar Casey is. And everything we're talking about, I found out that Edgar Casey knew and already prophesied. He, people know that, he talked about the Hall of Records being under the Sphinx's paw, and it's like the Atlantean Hall of Records. And he did a lot of talk about Atlantis, but what people don't seem to realize is he actually clearly stated what happened to the Atlanteans. He said Atlantis actually went down in 3 earth changes, not one. One was 51,000 years ago, and some of the Atlanteans went to the right. And the next earth change was 27,000 years ago, which correlates to the biblical flood, to the deluge. And again, the Atlanteans went to the right, mainly like into the Basque area. I know a lot of people know that the Basque have a very rare DNA, and now you'll know why. But 10,500 years ago was the last earth change that took out Atlantis. And the elders that stayed behind, with the sinking ship, so to speak, and for the first time, they went to the left. And they came up into the bottom of the North American continent and, meeting the Mayans first. And taught them, like I said, the Mayan calendar, Mayan pyramid building. The Mayans actually said, some big white dude, Cody Quetzal, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's the one that showed us. And but then what I'm here to share with the world is once they left the Mayan culture, because flesh and blood sacrifice ceremonies began to be introduced, and the Atlanteans were like, I don't think they're getting it. Let's get the hell out of Dodge, you know? Well, they went to Florida, man. That's pretty much mind-blowing because this is not known at this point in history. But they found a Mayan mound complex in Crystal River, Florida. And they know it's a Mayan settlement. It has all the like marking the equinox and the solstice and all those alignments in the actual layout of these mounds there. But they knew, well, if this is a Mayan settlement, there should be a step pyramid down this line. And the problem was it went right out into the river. So they thought, and the next problem was across the river, that land was private property and owned by the state of Florida. So they couldn't actually set foot onto it, but they sent a drone with really high-tech ground-penetrating radar to image that little island or that patch of land on the other side of the river, of the Crystal River. And sure enough, they found a Mayan step pyramid. It's like 76 feet long, 67 feet the other dimension. And it's like a ziggurat. It has like the flight of steps going up one side. And they said it's actually some of the best ground penetrating radar they've ever captured on anything. And so the bloodline came up into the middle of Florida, eventually leaving the top left-hand side of Florida. And this gets back into Edgar Cayce, because he said this bloodline first went into the Mayan culture, but then kept on going up through the middle of the North American continent, eventually becoming known as the mound builders. And then once they kept going, it's almost like they went up through the middle of the North American continent until they dead-ended around the Great Lakes and set up camp. And so Edgar Cayce said their final resting place of the remnants of the Atlanteans, they intertwined into the Iroquois tribe of Indians, he said, which I am, Seneca. So what I've learned is the actual numbers of this bloodline, the highest numbers reside within the Iroquois tribe of Indians, but the Sioux, which is the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota tribes, have retained their star knowledge more so than any other tribes. But the fact of the matter is all, no matter what, is, you know, Blackfoot or Choctaw or whatever, it's spread throughout all Native American First Nation tribes, but the highest percentage is within the Iroquois, and the highest knowledge retained is within the Sioux. Which gets right into Chief Golden Light Eagle.
Yes.
I did send him a message.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, he is mysterious. He might be off world right now.
Yeah, it could be. I'm feeling that.
But let me share a story about Chief Golden Light Eagle.
Okay,
because,
I would love that.
You know,
we would
I
all
was
love that.
tracking down all this information, and I thought I was on the cutting edge of like knowledge. You know, like, oh my God, you know, the Atlanteans intertwined into the Iroquois.
Right.
So when I first meet Chief, he's like, so you're one of those Indians from around the Great Lakes, huh? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, you're one of those Atlanteans, heavy duty. Like, wow. I guess I'm the last to know. It's interesting, though, because obviously, you know, I've become, Chief Golden Light Eagle has brought me into the Star Knowledge family,
Right.
which all, like a lot of chiefs and elders and grandmothers have got the okay from Spirit to reveal thousands of years of contact with star beings and the actual star knowledge that's been gained from that contact. And so I've been brought into the inner family, and it's not even a question to them. They know, like one of the grandmothers came to me and said, we're so glad that you're talking about how the Atlanteans became the mound builders, because we know in our 5,000 years of written history and 6,000 years of oral history that the mound builders are the remnants of the Atlanteans. And they also know that it's Anunnaki. it's not even a question to them. They know.
Mhm.
And so I think that's very interesting. So I'm very glad to be doing the work with the Star Knowledge family, and I thank Chief Golden Light Eagle for taking me under his wing, and pretty much announcing I'm the messenger of the mound builders of the Iroquois. So cool stuff.
It is, and it's like, and you're to take that and start to work it and build your team. I like when you said a team, because one person can't just do this. And
oh man, you know what I say? The time of a dictator or a president or a king is over. It's the time of the council. The round table is going to get back together, and when you get a whole round table of very enlightened, advanced thinking men and women, then we'll get some stuff done.
That's what I'm thinking. We're going to really start to get some stuff done then.
Yes.
And so when you go back to town, when you go back to your East Lake, since you kind of come full circle, you went away and you came back, you must look at it much differently than growing up there.
Yeah, now, it's home in so many ways, right? I'm finding out, like, that location on the planet is kind of unfolded like a gift. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's, first of all, the place is beautiful. And as you've seen, that location of the Hall of Records mound site, it's very strange because it's very reminiscent of Florida. And you find out there's a huge connection. As I said, let's just call them the Nephilim bloodline came into Florida first. And you find out there was this huge trade route between what became the Seminole tribe in Florida and the Iroquois up around the Great Lakes. And there's a lot of copper and seashells, actually, that came from Florida and then went up to the Great Lakes, and the Iroquois would make what's called wampum belts out of it. Wampum means seashell. And they would take it and pulverize it into little tiny beads and put it on a thread. Said one thread of a belt would take about a year just to make one thread. So you can imagine how many threads it would take to make a whole belt. One of those belts is around Chief Golden Light Eagle's waist, by the way, which is interesting because he's not Iroquois. I asked him, I'm like, isn't that a Hiawatha belt? And he's like, yes, it is. That's interesting. I'll have to ask him where he got it from.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I want my belt back.
That's awesome.
You can have it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've never met him, but I've had him on the show a few years ago, and I've watched the work with the Star Knowledge and with Jen and
he's a wonderful soul. It was so funny. He's one of the funniest human beings, and he always says too, humor is the world's best medicine.
Yeah.
And he just has a way about him. He can be in front of just the largest crowd, and just everyone will be like holding their ribs, laughing so hard. And sometimes it's just because you just get this look in his eye.
Well, and he was one of the original co-carriers too. That just blew me away of Turtle Island, North America. So I thought that was interesting.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Well, put it this way. If the Anunnaki human hybrid bloodline intertwined into the Native Americans, well, it gives you a good hint at who the elders. They're Anunnaki here in this human meat suit is what they are.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Like I'm Enki here in this human meat suit. Meat modem, I call it.
Or skin dressing, right? A skin dressing. I've heard it called skin dressing.
Skinwalker.
A skinwalker. There you go.
Well, now we've come full circle again.
Oh yeah, we do.
You know why they call them skinwalkers, by the way? And I learned a lot of this too, just from the elders, but also from Bigelow,
Huh?
is the Native American Indians in that location would see these orbs of light come down, but then they would take on the shape of like a giant wolf or a giant deer or a giant moose, anything really. But Bigelow pointed me to the UK and the UK Ministry of Defense and some documents that had been declassified. And they said the real deal are these orbs of light, but in some scientific process that we don't even understand, 3 of those orbs of light can come together and create one huge, solid, triangular UFO, accounting for all these large triangular craft that are all over this planet right now.
Right.
But let's just go backwards. This isn't my opinion. This is Bigelow Aerospace telling me Native American Indians and the scientists at the Skinwalker Ranch have seen these orbs come down and take on the form of biological life forms, whether it's, let's just go with a wolf, but they can also come together and become something technological, as in a giant triangular craft. So that's a little bit something new to wrap your head around, that whatever this intelligence is can become anything within our physical reality, from anything biological to technological, and can stop time. So,
and what can they wipe your brain to wipe your memory? Or do they do that?
You know what? I hate to say it seems to be true, because I've heard there's an underground base in Lake Erie.
I was going to ask you that next. Now you're reading my mind.
Yeah. They told me I've been in it more times than I can remember, because you know, when I go down there, they don't want to talk to Mike. They want to talk to Big Mike. And so I didn't go insane, I guess. They just made it where I don't remember. And I'm like, well, how about screw that?
Yeah.
Next time you take me down, I think I'm okay. I'm not going to flip out.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I would like to remember. But yes, I've heard they do have that ability. Sometimes it's for our betterment, though. Sometimes there's some stuff you don't really want to remember. And even, you know, I don't think the genetic program has ended. But think about it this way. If you had surgery coming up with a regular doctor, and it was for your benefit, you really needed this, and you really couldn't wait for it, you still don't want to wake up in the middle of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
A lot of abductions accidentally, it happened to me. I woke up right in the middle of being worked on. And they said, oh, we weren't aware that you were conscious. So sorry, you won't feel any pain anymore. And this being put his hand over my third eye, and I just lost all consciousness again and don't remember anything after that point. Well, I'm okay with not remembering anything after that point. So, yes.
Oh, so I want to just segue to just real quick to Chief Golden Light Eagle, and he founded the Star Knowledge in conference in 1996, and it's dedicated to bringing, like yourself, elders, indigenous chiefs, and wisdom keepers, and healers, and guides, and star teachers together to share ancient knowledge and providing an avenue for all people to share their visions, their dreams, and their messages with the world. And in regard to star nations, and because I can't say the Lakota word for that, would Kachpi Oyate? I'm not sure, or star nations. I probably just butchered that, but my heart's open with that. But
no worries.
And so that's that part too, where we were talking earlier about one person can't do this. We need everybody coming together to do this.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, indeed. I want to tell the audience that if you go to YouTube and type in Star Being Origins, I believe is the name of the documentary. It's actually a really well-made documentary about the first Star Knowledge Conference. It's Chief Golden Light Eagle organized. And it's done by the production crew that did a Emmy Award-winning documentary called The Mystery of the Sphinx. And it's available right now for free on YouTube, Star Being Origins. But yeah, one thing I can tell you, which is really bizarre, is like he's friends with the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama said the Native American Indian spirituality is the closest thing that the Dalai Lama's seen to Buddhism. And the Dalai Lama wanted to come and talk at Star Knowledge conferences.
Oh, cool.
And Chief told him no. And I'm like, what? And he said, well, Star Knowledge is geared and designed to have people who have a message that needs to get out to humanity, but they don't have a venue, they don't have an outlet. And he said, if the Dalai Lama showed up, he didn't have 100,000 people here just because he's going to be here, and it'd take away all the, like, even interest of people wanting to see other people talk. So he said, no, that's not what the Star Knowledge conferences are about. But I can tell you that our government has put a team for first contact that'll initiate first contact when it happens. And Chief Golden Light Eagle is on that team. The Dalai Lama is on that team. And yours truly is on that team. So I'm ready, man. What's holding up the party?
I always wanted to have dinner with them. Let's have an ambassador dinner and a gala,
well, that's funny.
of course.
We were saying how the first actual recipe for beer came from the Sumerian tablets.
Right.
And Chief Golden Light Eagle, I got to share a story. He kept inviting me to join the elders in a sweat lodge. And the grandmothers would come up to me and say, listen, we know you smoke marijuana. And you don't want to do your first sweat lodge high. We smoke it too, they told me, but don't do it high. So I was always high, so I never did it. And sooner or later, I'm like, man, I got to go up to him and just apologize and say, so I did. I said, Chief, I'm really sorry. I know, you've offered so many times for me to join, and I'm not being disrespectful, but the grandmothers told me, never to do my first sweat lodge high. And he's like, no, the Pleiadians brought weed to this planet. It's medicine. I'm like, oh, all right, I got the chief's permission. So I did my first sweat lodge, and it was wonderful and beautiful. Tell you what, man, if you ever want to experience other dimensional beings up close and personal, have a sweat lodge don't do it with just someone out in the blue. Make sure you got someone that knows what they're doing, like Chief Golden Light Eagle.
Exactly.
Our government brought Chief in to teach the Secret Service of the president how to do sweat lodges, because they found out it was the only thing that would alleviate the agent's traumatic stress syndrome. I guess it kind of releases toxic emotional frequencies at a cellular level through your sweat. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can't die. So you gotta make sure you got someone that knows what they're doing. But man, these little balls of light will just enter the sweat lodge and fly around, and everyone can see them, and they deliver messages and interesting stuff.
Well, and that's all set up with sacred geometry as well.
Yes.
And I've been really fortunate to be in a sweat, and it just changes you afterwards. The world just looks so much better.
Yeah, it's amazing. I never did one before, and afterwards, it's hard to put into words. You feel rejuvenated.
You do.
On a soul level.
Soul, yeah.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. It's like you let go of all those burdens, and that it just takes it in such a beautiful way, and that you do it with the group. See, you're not alone. The group, you go as a group, and I love that part of it as well. Except for when they're sweating all over you, but.
I'll share two really funny stories of
4 minutes left.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. 4 minutes left. Thanks, Patrick.
Oh, wow. Time does go fast, doesn't it? I heard time's fun when you're having flies. But, cool. I got to tell the audience, sorry, Chief Golden Light Eagle was off planet and couldn't make it, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what? I really wanted to talk to him about the crystal skulls, and I think you know why, but we'll save that for another time.
Oh, let's save that. We'll have all three of you on. That would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, yes.
Just so the world knows, all of us are going to begin working with, I guess you'd call it the most famous crystal skull, right?
Yes, yes.
It unlocks past history and ancient knowledge to the world, and that work is beginning very, very soon.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. That skull, I've never had anything call out to me in quite a way as it has. And
Bill says the same.
Aaron Duncan, and he's like, Michael, spirits tell me the crystal skull is calling out for you. Do you know what that means? I'm like, yeah, actually, I do.
Yeah, you guys are going to be connected. So it'll be the Bill Homan, the caretaker of the crystal skull, and you, and Michael Lee Hill, and we're going to all be together and have this amazing initiation, right? Would you call that an initiation?
Yeah,
for you.
Some of it is not going to be open to the public,
right.
But some of it will be, and it truly entails a small group of us bringing the Mitchell Hedges skull to sacred sites to activate them.
Oh, activation, that's a good word.
Not only activate them, but to activate ourselves.
Ourselves.
It's the information goes both ways.
Yeah, and a download. We're going to get such a download of information, I think. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, I can tell you it's already made contact, and I'm not even laid hands on it.
Yeah, and Carol Davis is going to come too, and she's the speaker for the skull. So that'll just be like another added whoop whoop to the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and we'll keep everybody apprised of that here. And I want to thank you, Michael, for coming on the show and sharing your love and your wisdom and all your experiences and your wild, wild, wonderful life with us today.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in today to the Cosmic Oracle Show. We're here every Friday from 5 to 7 on LA time. And go ahead and check out Michael's site, his website. I have it all on Facebook. On the Barbara Jean Lindsey Facebook page, but also you can go to Michael Lee Hill has a Facebook page, and you can go to his website, michaelleehill.net. That's michaelleehill.net. And check out, someone asked about the 432 hertz, and if you can make your own. And so maybe we'll end with that 1 minute there, Michael. If they could just go to your site, and it has all the information there.
Yeah, if you really want to dive in the deep end, go to my blog. That's where I've been able to share information in as detailed but as concise way as possible. And it'll keep you busy for a while. But everything about 432, you can actually buy my products there as well.
Perfect. Here we go. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Patrick. Peace. See everybody next week. Peace out. Much love. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
There I am.
Let me go up here.